This week, on Across the Arrowverse, we've let the timeline run its course and all the changes have been made. It's the end of Flash Season 5, Episodes 18 to 22. Hi everybody, and welcome to Across the Arrowverse. My name is Matthew Vose.
And I'm Catherine Vose.
And I'm the fastest man alive. I do love their openings, it's great. We have made it, we're at the end of the season. This is our last episode for the current season.
Say what?
If you've enjoyed this, if you like Across the Arrowverse, if you like what we do, don't forget there is our Patreon where you can support us, patreon.com/eloquentgushing, and there are lots of different reward levels that give you digital rewards, physical rewards, cards, magnets, extra shows, bonus stuff. It is amazing when people do support the network because we put out lots of different shows, and it is precisely because of the people who back us on Patreon. So thank you to all our Patreons.
Thank you very much, guys.
And hopefully you will have enjoyed it, because maybe we'd be back in a few weeks when the new season starts. Maybe, possibly. But for now, we've made it to the end of The Flash.
Yes.
So episodes 18 through 22.
Yep.
Godspeed. Then Snowpack.
Mm-hmm.
Gone Rogue. The Girl with the Red Lightning. And Legacy.
Yeah. I must say, it's only hearing you list the those episode titles that makes me remember how much filler there was around episode 18 and 19, because we've literally just, as soon as we've literally just finished watching the finale, I'm full of buzz and joy and excitement of how exciting the finale was.
Yep.
And then you said Godspeed. I was like, oh yeah, he was a bit rubbish.
There was that thing. Oh yeah, there was a thing with Caitlin. There was evil Nora. There was a lot of extra stuff in there that maybe you wouldn't have done in a shorter season.
It's 22 episode season, isn't it? Yeah,
we say this every time. So we've literally just finished watching it. We've ordered a curry, so we've got until the curry arrives to talk about this show. It feels like you want to talk about the way it ends then.
That is top in my mind. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd only say no to keep that so that you stay interested in the other conversations.
Well.
No, go on. So, Nora, you didn't like Nora. The first time we recorded about Flash, you asked me and you said, what do you think of Nora?
Oh, she was super irritating.
Because you did not enjoy her. This show's worked that character very well.
She's had a proper arc of growth over the season, and then I do think it's right that she doesn't live on into future seasons. Yeah, because I think that would get over confusing. And they did play around with the timey-wimey stuff, as Ralph said. So it does make sense that such a radical change to the timeline does lose Nora. Yeah. And I also understood her decision not to go into a world of rage in order to stay present. And I thought that was a very brave and a very adult decision, which reflects the brave, open and honest Nora that we got by the very end. Yeah, absolutely. Although she didn't do that and they didn't catch Thorn. Like, there was a point where making that decision was you either do that or you do that. And in the end, they did neither, which I feel is the sort of thing you have to do to allow Thorn to come back for yet another season as villain. It also rings true with how rubbish they are at catching people this season. It's been terrible. Since we mentioned it last time and you start noticing it, you're like, take the flipping cuffs with you and as soon as you get there, put them on them. Absolutely. And then deal with it. If you're so prepared to grab someone and put someone in a cell, you're prepared to put the cuffs on them and then talk to them. I mean, heck, with a sort of Flash and Vibe combo, you could grab them and put them in the cell. Yeah. That seems to be eminently doable. But no, they're not very good at catching maybe people. They'll pick that up. I'm amazed that Nora has not survived the end of it. Has survived it, but then cannot exist because of timeline changes. Yes. I think the way they built it up that
I said last time that I really wanted Thorne to still be a villain. And that, yes, he is. He is manipulating, like they say, his plans have plans. He is manipulating everything.
Yes.
And it's really good. And I loved that, they're using the dagger to stop him from having powers. Really clever.
It is very clever. And actually because they did a very good job of keeping us unsure. With his affection for Nora, but actually thinking back, he felt the same affection for Cisco, and still does, and it didn't stop him being a villain.
Absolutely.
But B, showing how badly he was treated by the prison guards, gave us that feeling of sympathy towards him.
Yeah, which was a very interesting turn. It's like, I didn't expect them to make us feel sorry for him.
But yes, it doesn't stop him being a villain. It just means that the prison guards are pretty awful as well.
We also don't have to sympathise with them either.
That I don't really understand their penal system. Like, if you're going to execute him, why wait 15 years to do it? But perhaps I don't understand the American penal system.
People
full
live
stop.
on death row for a very long time. So what was the other bit of this that I liked? I liked that it was them travelling back in time that gave him the knowledge that if he ever needed it, he could manipulate Nora into the cicada hunt and all of this. And so when it comes together, they put the dagger on him, plans started to be developed.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good villain. That's a Moriarty level villain.
Absolutely, he is super clever.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that dopey writer one, all the Welleses are pretty super clever, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. And this is Thorne as Wells. But,
yes, but true. I thought it was interesting, that thing that they did probably earlier than these set of episodes, where it was like, I know how to manipulate Sherlock when you share a man's face. I was like, really?
I'm not sure I believe that, but fine. I enjoyed the reveal about the negative speed force. I feel like that's a very comic booky thing.
Yes.
But it was an interesting way to get her back in time and give us that filler episode of her gone evil, in inverted commas. That was nice.
It was interesting because I think her gone evil, I think it maps across to a teenager acting out after feeling rejected.
Absolutely.
It really does sort of map across to that teenage angst that we've
she's
been
35,
seeing.
just so we're clear, but...
Yeah, but not Nora is 19? 18?
Didn't we find out the actress was really old?
Yeah, but the character...
I say really old as someone who's in his late 30s,
but... Definitely not an age-appropriate actress.
But she was very good.
Yes, she was.
In the end, actually.
She was.
And I think
good.
the whole arc, she did every bit of it really well.
Yes.
I like... So we had a hint of the Speed Force in the crossover that Barry talked to Oliver and said, when I run, everything just makes sense and everything's clear. And I'm able to... And that's what you need to channel, that sort of peace.
Yeah.
To be able to do me. And the reverse for Barry as Oliver.
Yes.
Needing the anger that fuels him to take vengeance to save the city.
Yeah.
And we saw that the negative Speed Force is about anger and loneliness and disconnectedness.
Yeah.
Great, good writing.
And it also helps, it's a bit chicken and egg, but it helps inform where Thorne's coming from as well. He's everything that the Flash is not.
Yeah. Yeah, and they just have lent into it in an extreme fashion, which is great.
Yeah.
So it was Ralph that figured out the plot.
Yay, Ralph.
Mostly,
yes.
I mean, he was only just there.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it because I did want someone, and every time that he started looking into it and they were telling him not to, I was like, no, this is the most interesting thing that's going on. Let's have more of this.
Yes, absolutely. I liked it. Yeah. I like Ralph. I like Ralph the detective. I'm glad that Ralph is a continuing part of the gang.
Yep.
I'm glad they have... Basically, Ralph has now opened his heart a bit. I think, which gives me hope that the way that they portrayed him when he first came into the series, like last season, let's retcon that into him having his barriers up, and he doesn't want to open his heart to people, rather than they just miswrote him for the first number of episodes.
Yes, let's take it as that. Okay.
Yes.
I do still hope there's a thing between him and Caitlin, just as a naturally developing good friendship into a relationship.
I can see that. I think that would be really nice.
Yeah.
But maybe she's got too many other things going on in her life at the moment, and she's not had the best romantic history in this
No, that is very fair, which is why I think I said on the first episode it would be quite nice if it just naturally happened.
Yes.
It wasn't a big drama, but I don't think the CW does romance like that.
No.
So,
no.
Caitlin had her own episode with her family. Her father killed. Her mother maybe has meta stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only good thing about that is they've set themselves up for another perhaps filler episode next season.
It has that vibe. It's a bit like what they've done with Grodd and other metas of that type. They will come back once a time. They did this with the Snart family for a good couple of seasons. So,
yeah, I didn't really enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
I don't think they gave the evil Ice King element of her dad.
Icicle.
I don't think they gave him enough character development for me to take him seriously.
No, and it was a really cartoonish villain type thing. He looked like Jack Frost from the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And the fight between them didn't work for me. Yeah. That was a shame.
And to be honest, the mum thing, they do it better with Lena and her mum in Supergirl.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's exactly what it made me think of as well. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And shades of Supergirl, again, we said it last time, but the hating on aliens, the xenophobia thing, but very much with the sort of familial connection between the cicadas. It reminded me of Lockwood and his son.
Yes.
But I quite like that this went the way of she continued following up because he was goading her into it.
Yes.
Whereas Lockwood's son stepped back from it and saw the destruction of it. So they took a different path, at least there.
Absolutely. I thought it was a bit convenient that having successfully got the girl to agree to take the cure, it turns out that the wound on her head is far too connected for the dagger for it to work.
Yeah.
And now let's move on. I was just like, meh.
Yeah, it really was. It was like, oh, okay, so now we need to come up with something else. It can't just work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it did remind me of the great moment of Ralph finding out about all the multiverse timey-wimey stuff and going, yeah, have we all got the same question? Why didn't Eddie have a vasectomy? That might be my favourite moment of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
The episode Godspeed sounds like you weren't into. We were expecting an episode that traced that history, the pre-gone history of Nora. What would you call it? Flash forward, back, flashback forward.
I know. I think I was possibly a little bit too negative. I didn't like the speedster they came up with.
Yeah,
I thought he was a bit lame.
Really lame, surprisingly. Yeah.
And I think, it was all very convenient. Everyone remembered, oh, yes, there's a drug that can make you a speedster.
Yeah.
Why hasn't anyone else been using this?
Yeah, the show's forgotten about it for like 3 years now.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But I guess that, that was it. I liked her friend.
Yeah, it was a real shame her friend was killed.
And she doesn't seem to have spent a long time agonising about her afterwards.
Yeah.
But, I liked her friend. I liked the discovery of the chip. Mm-hmm. I didn't love that as a storyline, if I'm honest. And I find it hard to believe that all of the Flash gang could possibly have managed to spend most of their life not telling Nora about it.
It would have been better just as that no one else knows.
Yeah.
Rather than everyone's lied to you. Which is a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it was all right.
Yeah.
I don't think it 100% gave me enough to show sufficient frequency of visits to Thorne for them to develop the really close, trusting relationship that they did have.
Yeah.
But I did like the echoes of how Thorne trained Barry in that very first season a bit.
And I'm sure we saw... Didn't that also happen at the beginning of this season? Oh no, maybe it was Barry speaking to Oliver, learning his skills or something like that. But I'm sure we've had basically that speech again this season. So,
what about you? What did you make of it?
I enjoyed the future episode, whatever it is called.
Flash forward back.
I really enjoyed it. I do like that sort of contained amount of storytelling because it means there's no filler.
Yes.
They are absolutely focused on, let's tell her origin story in 45 minutes or less.
Yep.
And done. And we're out. And I like that. I like they didn't have any filler. A real shame about her friend. A real shame there wasn't much more world building, but They've already done some of that for 2049.
I like that they showed her as, albeit she might have been late, but they showed her as a very competent CSI.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
She was akin to her dad when he started off.
That's the joke of him. The Flash is always late. And, it's an obvious joke with a speedster, but yeah great. So I liked it, but yeah, again, Godspeed seemed interesting, but I think that's the same thing Savitar did about being God of Speed and wanting to drain everyone's speed, and then they just defeated him.
Yeah, he was a Commodore Garden thief that just, for some reason, decided to make himself magically into a speedster.
Developed a speed thing, yeah.
And it somehow worked out, yeah. I was a bit... The whole understanding of how he'd suddenly come across what was needed to turn yourself into a speedster.
Yeah.
And that he made himself a costume.
A costume reminiscent of Zoom.
Yeah.
But in white this time. So we also had the episode Gone Rogue.
Okay.
Nora as a bad guy doing bad things. Now, if I'd read about that, if you told me there's one where she teams up with some of the female villains and they plan a heist and execute a heist. Oh, and the Ragman dude.
Yep.
And they plan and execute a heist and then they get foiled and everyone reconciles. I've gone like, oh, I'm looking forward to that. There was something missing in the execution. I think because we're at the point of the season where it's all angst, I felt like it was very angsty.
Yeah, I mean, I get the angst from her. Mm-hmm. You know, she was doing her Nora thing of trying to make everything right and trying to do it all on her own, knowing that she needed support but not wanting to go to her family.
Yeah.
And therefore doing it in an angsty teenager way by hanging out with the bad kids.
That's true.
So I quite like the setup. Mm-hmm. I also quite like the fact that she was still Nora.
Yes.
So she didn't want them to kill anyone and she was trying to control everything, which obviously made the rest of them gang up against her.
Yeah.
I think where it lost it a little for me is they seem to be flip-flopping over what Weather Witch's character is.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Because, you know, there was all that thing of, she feels remorse, and then she did the ice thing to help her. And she seemed to be subordinate to the lady that could control the car. It didn't seem to be the other way around, whatever she was called. What was the lady? Who knows what the lady that can...
Silver Ghost.
Silver Ghost, yeah.
Silver Ghost.
Silver Ghost. Silver Ghost. Anyways, but but in that episode, it was all like...
It's Christmas time in Central City.
Croon to me, baby. Croon to me. No, but in that episode, they just seem to have been like, actually, the Weather Witch is evil, does want to be a villain, and has dumped Silver Ghost.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not ringing true. This is not consistent for me with that girl's character. And they seem to be trying to tell a story of that girl having a good person trying to come out. So, yeah.
And just making them villains is disappointing.
And dull.
Yeah, we've done it elsewhere.
I much prefer Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten who the bee woman was.
Yeah. She had an episode in Flash ages ago, possibly even season 1.
Right.
She had an episode in Arrow where... And I can't remember why, but when Felicity's shot and develops the chip to allow her to walk again, she comes to steal the chip because she needs it for reasons. And then they lock her up.
Right.
So, yeah. Absolutely random. We then move into having the Meta cure and wanting to give it to all the Metas to save them from Cicada too. Cicada.
Yeah.
I do like Cicada.
That was good fun.
The Meta cure being given to everyone in that way and everyone... starting a riot to get it. And...
There seems to be a lack of medical due process here.
There is that, yeah.
Like, if you think about how a real medicine is administered, A, there's a hell of a lot more testing done.
It takes years.
But B, also, something that is quite that significant involves a lot of counselling around whether or not you want this change in your life. And also, why would they all just be like, I don't want my powers anymore?
Yeah.
You know, it rang more true to me, Sherlock's girlfriend going, no, I quite like having a bit of telekinesis. It's good fun.
Absolutely. And find another way to stop her, but don't let me die.
Also, why are there suddenly so many Metas?
Yeah, because this was the thing that annoyed us last time. All the Metas are villains, and that's what we see. But now they're saying, actually, there are lots of them, we just never see them. It's like, well, Supergirl can introduce us to lots of aliens as part of their normal life.
Yeah.
Why can you not do that?
Why have we never seen any Metas? And why has the concept of Metas and the usefulness of Metas not come up now more in day-to-day life then?
Yeah. because that is part of Supergirl as well. There's the thing of, really powerful aliens who can exist in hot temperatures doing jobs that it makes them better at that job.
Yeah.
And then that's what's led to this thing because people are being made unemployed for that.
Absolutely.
And so
that
you would
really
expect
made
it with the metas.
sense. Yeah. So yeah, that was all a bit like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
If you had a power, even one that was a telekinesis or magnetics or whatever it was, the woman who could make things explode and so on, you'd go, I'm sure I can monetize this.
And also,
particularly as of all boomers.
What?
Gen Y, Gen X's.
Absolutely. Also, what I also was a bit like, isn't it convenient that the failed cures are actually toxins?
Yeah.
It's like, really?
And you haven't destroyed them?
Really?
Come on. You've got a whole archive for the things that you're keeping but want to keep safe.
It's also very convenient that they just leave all of these powerful weapons and devices hanging out in the amusingly named Starchive. Yes.
And I do credit some of the writing that they've set up some of these things. They'd set up characters to come back and do stuff. They set up the Starchive and the time ship so we could then use it later. Yes. And they do introduce things early so they can bring them forward for the denouement, which I appreciate that. I like that.
I'm sitting here picking at it. I really enjoyed it.
It was really good. I did want to do a bit of a summary on it. It was an excellent season.
Yes.
Even though I was frustrated at them not capturing people, not putting handcuffs on people, all this kind of thing, I can accept it and go, they're not doing that because they want more story. And by and large, the story is very good.
Yeah, I thought the story was very good, nicely plotted. The cleverness of Thorne at the end.
Yep. That's what I wanted a villain to be pulling his strings.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. Presumably in the crossover, given that he gave that hint, I'll see you in our next crisis.
Yeah, well, I mean, crisis is just a word they throw around, and he knows the front page cover of Barry and Flash disappears in Crisis.
True.
So he might just be using the word as a... I appreciate this show on many levels because it really goes into DC canon and history. Characters are changed, but still used in some of the same ways, and they're using the entire world and multiple Earths, the multiverse really nicely. They're using time travel really nicely, so it's got that sci-fi element that I enjoy. And then it's got characters with heart and interesting relationships, and it doesn't go into the same secrets and lies that hurt Arrow.
Yes.
Work better here because I can buy them more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like they're just doing secrets on top of secrets on top of secrets because that's how the show is written. It feels natural to what the characters are up to. Yeah.
And when they're having not emotional bad behaviour, that's the wrong phrase, but when they're behaving in a way that is counterproductive, they confront each other about it.
Yes.
And they talk about it.
Yeah.
And they resolve the issue.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is quite grown up.
The fight between Barry and Iris about Nora was excellent.
Yeah.
That is, it's, and we don't get into the relationship too much because it's not our favourite, but that was excellently done. It was believable. It was believable that they were both fuming after it and looking for a thing to do. And then she went and did the thing he did. And it made them even, so it made it easier for them to reconcile. Yeah. It's the same way, I think I said at the time, a rom-com would write this about he's cheated on her, now she's cheated on him, and now everything's even to allow them to get back together. It's got that element to it, and I like it. It worked.
I thought it was really good. And Joe's going to be the captain.
Joe's the captain now, which I did feel was being set up with his episode in charge of the precinct.
Yes.
It was a bit... I think I can see what's coming, again, because we've seen it in Arrow with Quentin Lance getting promoted every season. So
that's good.
But he looked good in a suit and tie.
He did look good in a suit and tie.
I will take it, and I'm interested to see what more plot lines this gives him.
I'm also thinking if the actor's got a bad back, might be nice not to have to be running around in fight scenes.
Yeah, put him behind a desk.
Put him behind a desk, putting him in a slightly more... Because he is still a real... force in the team,
the wise one,
but we can do it without him necessarily having to do so many stunts.
And involve the police work more, because that has always been one of the more interesting bits of Flash to actually investigate things.
Absolutely.
And we've not touched on Cisco.
No,
I did think he was going to get the cure. He was going to get rid of Vibe.
And to be fair, a lot of the additions of Cisco and the positive contributions of Cisco this season have been his science stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's worked. They've made a point of the fact they've got the breach buttony things.
Yes.
So they don't necessarily need him for vibing all the time, for breaching all the time.
Yes, because it'd be totally inconvenient for them not to have that.
Yeah.
Especially now, as you called out when we were watching, now that they've all practiced jumping out of the breach holes.
They're really good at that bit of jump, aren't they? The little half, whoop, and we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
I quite like that turn, partially just because you see Cisco smiling at the end, and that's great. But yeah,
where do you see Cisco going in the future?
It leaves me feeling like he's going to leave, if I'm really honest. Because they had that moment of him hearing about someone he pulled through whatever degree,
getting the Nobel
Prize and setting up his own lab. And we've seen so many labs. This season has been littered with the names of scientists and entrepreneurs and different people from the DC canon. And again, this is why I like it. And I could see him wanting, now I need to go and set up not Star Labs, but Ramon Labs or something.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, it clearly seems to be a science cluster.
Yeah.
So if Cisco was to get want to get a proper research job, I don't think he'd have much difficulty.
No. But I wonder if I could see him becoming a recurring character. So he comes and helps them or does stuff with them, but he's not always there.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, why we've seen every episode has at least one of the main cast missing. Yeah. I suspect it's a budgetary thing because they have a big cast now.
They really do.
So
and they're all getting better known and presumably getting offers.
You'd hope so. Yeah. So interesting. No monitor at the end.
No.
But a visit to the Flash headline thing that we've been seeing since day one. We've been seeing this thing about the Flash disappearing. And now it changes to 2019. It's coming in December. I think we might need to have a separate conversation about Crisis, so maybe we'll do that as the setup for next season or something. Because
sounds good.
There is so much information in the real world coming about it, and so much interest. Like, although I think they're doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think they will do it differently because every storyline they've done has been different than the comic storyline version.
And it needs to sit nicely into the TV canon.
Yes.
You know, they are quite respectful of the comics.
Yeah.
But equally, in some areas, they've created their own canon.
Absolutely. And new characters.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of audience like me that just has no idea about the comics. No. So if they were trying to do things that didn't make sense in the world that I've grown to love, it would be a bit jarring.
Yeah. And the comics don't necessarily need to have the same heart that a TV show needs to have to draw you in. So they need to play off that really well.
Absolutely.
The main thing that I sort of wanted to mention from this was it makes perfect sense from a comic perspective, a canon perspective, about Nora not surviving. And this is, I think, why I consider it such a clever move at the end. I talked earlier in one of the other episodes about she's a composite of a couple of different characters and a couple of backgrounds, but she is a new invention for this TV show.
Right.
So this sort of allows them to keep the... Barry and Nora will still have twins and they will still go on to have the powers that we've kind of seen in excess, but are a bit different and so on.
Yes.
But we've had our own new character doing some of the same stuff, but now it's going to change again.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that. And it allows them in this show to not always just know what's coming and taking the interest off the ending.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. I also... Just from a personal perspective, there's something really weird about people meeting their children when their children are already adults.
Yeah.
So in a way, when they have children, this will allow them to actually parent their children as new characters, rather than be, oh, well, we know what happens to her.
So the other series that we finished now is Arrow. We have 2 more episodes left to do, episodes 21 and 22. Living Proof, which is... Everyone's trapped, everyone's hurt, everyone's coming to a thing where they've got no things, and Oliver decides through imagining Tommy that he needs to try to save Emiko.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the future, everything looks terrible because they're all caught. And then episode 22, you have saved this city.
Yeah.
Where they save the city. Emiko, they get Emiko to change sides, but she's killed.
Yeah.
The building's exploded, but they stop everyone from dying. And everyone goes away at the end, feeling like they've saved the city and everything's great again.
Are we back in the present? Back in the present?
And then in the future, they've taken down the wall, stopped Archer becoming a big threat, stopped the Zetas.
Yes.
Good. And Oliver's gone off with the Monitor. For all reasons.
Yeah.
So you watch these with me, so I'm not going to do a big breakdown of them.
No, I have lived them.
You have lived them. I am feeling a bit bad at making you watch them in the end. They did not deliver in the way I was hoping to be honest.
I must say, you did kind of sell me on them, and my feelings after the 2 episodes are, I'm very glad I didn't have to watch the rest of the series.
Which is really harsh, because there has been good in there. And some of it's been okay, and there is stuff that I will talk about with Arrow as being good, but
there was some of it I didn't dislike.
Right.
So sorry, no,
that's not the highest praise, to be honest. But
the fight choreography is excellent.
Yeah, we always talk about that with Arrow. Yeah.
Of the 4 shows, by far, the sort of almost the athletic nature, the gracefulness, all of that, they do that incredibly well.
Yeah.
A lot.
There's a lot of kicky punch.
There's a lot of kicky punch. But then there's room for that. If that's your thing, then Arrow's your show.
Yes.
And some of the relationship stuff, they have some nice character development. There's a lot of heart in the show.
Yeah.
I think my problem with it, both the present and the future,
yeah,
is that you've got these really complicated things going on. The world is brought to the brink of disaster, and then in the end, it seems quite simple just to stop it all.
Yeah.
The Ninth Circle are now a bit cross with Emiko and they've put an arrow through her heart. And actually also in that 30 seconds, she's managed to fix her relationship with Oliver. And the whole uploading of the virus into the Wall Archer software... they're not stupid. I mean, I know Felicity's like this super genius, but they didn't seem to be idiots on the other side.
Yeah.
And anyone who gets a virus, all it takes is some more money and some more super geniuses and some time to fix the thing.
Yeah.
So I don't really see that as a long-term solution.
No. And the thing that I think is frustrating me more than anything else was that the future stuff did not have a point. It was not building on stuff we saw in the present stuff to inform both stories. It seemed like they were going to tie it really nicely together with the Archer stuff, but actually in the present, Archer is no longer a thing. So this is the fact that in the next 21 years, Archer will become a thing again. But it's not like something in the now is informing something in the future, and it's not like the future is helping inform the decisions they made in the past. When we think back to things in The Flash where they were using Iris's and Nora's relationships...
Yes.
...and relationship to inform the decisions that she was going to make and how they backed things up and how they understood the decisions they were going to make in the future really worked. Now, that's because it is time travel rather than just 2 different time periods. But you could have cut all the future stuff and it wouldn't have changed what we saw in the present.
I agree.
It wouldn't have added anything more to it particularly.
Yeah.
And you could have shown the future stuff and not shown any of the present stuff. And I think it would have worked.
Yeah. I mean...
From what you saw.
Based on the 2 episodes that I saw. I mean, and some of the future stuff lessened the feelings of peril in the present stuff.
Yeah.
Like when Roy was down in the deadly chemicals.
Right.
It's like, well, we're not that scared for him because we've seen him in the future.
No, and they must have known that because they dealt with it very quickly. In the same way, the Bronze Tiger dude, it's like, hey, you have a son called Connor, just made us go, oh, he's dead, and then he's not dead. So it's like, so what even was the point of that? Is that a thing they're setting up for season 8? Because it still just makes me go, well, he's dead in the Crisis then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little frustrating. It's almost like having them both has diminished it rather than added to it. I would rather it was either a shorter series in the present, or even they just finished the present and then jumped 20 years in the future and started informing all the future stuff.
Yeah. I mean, part of me is like, is the whole future stuff just there to give us that last scene where Felicity's done her job as a mum, and now she can go to wherever it is that Oliver's been taken for whatever it is he's doing with the Monitor and the crossover. And
in that case, I would have rather it had been 2 half seasons. And the first half is all the present stuff, and they deal with it and they live happily ever after. And then we skip 20 years in the future, and suddenly everything's terrible again. And we have that resolution.
Yeah.
And it comes to it. It would have almost been more interesting seeing it go that way. And some of the reveals were informed of the fact that we find out that Mia is Mia Smoke in the same episode where Felicity finds out she's pregnant.
Right.
And we see that Felicity has been a major thing in... or that Archer is a really major thing and is terrible in the episode where we see Felicity turn Archer online. That's
quite nice.
You know, that was those were nicely done, but those were moments that were few and far between, I feel. So
it's just a bit overwrought. Yeah, it's just a bit overwrought.
Yeah, we've not seen John in the future. We've not seen Oliver in the future, but we've seen Oliver in the future in the Legends. But we know the timeline is malleable.
Yeah.
And we know that from Flash.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
They have said those very words.
They have said exactly those words in time font. In time writing. So I think that's the thing that's frustrating me. And I'm just going to have to move on with that. That's, it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It was too much. I feel the stories themselves, like you say, were wrapped up pretty quickly and pretty simply, particularly given the fact that at every stage we had to have a moment. The discovering who the Ninth Circle were was a thing. Discovering where the Ninth Circle were was a thing. Discovering Emiko was working for them was a thing. Discovering she was leader was a thing. Discovering they wanted Project Cygnus was a thing. Discovering they wanted the tech for Project Cygnus was a thing. Discovering they wanted Archer was a thing. Every step was and we can turn this into half an episode.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
Go on.
When you play games like Batman and you have Halo and you have the different missions to work through.
Absolutely.
It really is like one of those big large world computer games.
Yeah.
And and I'm not anti that in a computer game.
No.
It doesn't fill me with a cohesive sense of joy in a TV series.
Yeah. Halo 4 was exactly this. It was, we need to get off this ship, but we can't undock from the ship unless we press these 3 buttons. Oh, now we need to land, but we can't get our ships in unless the shields are turned off, so we need to take out these 3 shield generators. Now we need to... It was just that constantly throughout the game.
I mean,
and you're absolutely right, this is what it's like.
That whole scene where Roy had to jump across things and then hold his breath while in the poison gas in order to press the button to stop the generator. That could have been lifted out of any of those games.
Yeah. Could they not have just picked up paint cans and thrown them, and we just had a shot of them throwing things trying to hit the button?
or a portal. We could have had a portal where you throw one thing and something else drops through.
Turn it into something a bit different and a bit interesting. Yeah. It's we expect this from Arrow. It's physical stuff. It's peril at every stage, that kind of thing.
And also, this is a personal thing to me, but as someone who likes to knit whilst I watch TV, Arrow is a combination of very dark and very fast moving. It's not good knitting TV.
Okay. Well, it's a good job you didn't have to watch most of it.
Exactly.
I found it interesting. I've seen a comment now, actually, that Stephen Amell asked the writers to write it as though it was the final season.
Okay.
Would you have been satisfied? Because we know it's coming back for a short season, so I don't know quite how that's going to fit with the crossover, but would you have been satisfied if that was the ending of Arrow? Okay, I'll flip the question another way. Is there anything they could do to give a more satisfying ending over and above what we've just seen? To really go, let's secure the legacy of this show?
You see, it's really hard, because you say, would you have been satisfied for that to be the ending of Arrow? And there's part of me that's just like, please tell me there's no more Arrow.
Yes, I'm satisfied.
Just stop it. Just stop it now.
Okay.
But no, yes and no, because for me, the thing I care about in Arrow is Stephen Amell's character. Well, it's Arrow and Felicity.
Right.
And so what this has given me is that the story, or what it leaves me feeling, is the story of the rest of the characters is kind of calm and done, and one hopes that they might be moving on to lead a calmer life. Right. Although we'll
come back to that comment in a moment.
We'll see. Yep. But that we are going to get a bit more of a resolution for Felicity and Arrow himself in the crossover. And I can live with that.
Okay.
How about you? You care more about this season series than I do.
If I hadn't known there was any more coming, I would appreciate they have given us an ending, and it would have been, and this is really nice, the finale of Arrow is technically going to be next year's crossover. Yeah. So, awesome. That would have worked for me. Going back to your comment there, this is, I think, the most frustrating thing about the future stuff. If that first half, the present half of the season, had been all we got, it would have been really nice as, like, they've saved the city, Dinah's in the police, Renee can work with the police, John can work with Argus, all the police, he's got all these options, and he's got children, they've moved off. It's all in quite a good place. Except because of the future stuff, we know that vigilantes are going to become utterly hunted, Star City's going to be a trash city, the Glades are going to build a wall to keep them out, and everything's going to go to hell again.
It's really depressing.
So all the stuff that we got as a, like, this would be a satisfying ending is undone.
Yeah.
If we then went into 20 years later and look, it's all gone terrible again, it would have been like, and it will be interesting to find out how it got here. But we've not been given that, how we got here. We were just being using the flash forward to try to inform the present, which I don't think happened.
Yeah.
So that's
and they do make it look very depressing about the present. The whole idea that they're all there full of hope, but you know that it's all a pile of rubbish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It'll be interesting for the crisis because they told us Oliver's going to die. Which doesn't necessarily mean he's going to die. This is a comic book. Come on.
Absolutely.
You know?
And they said he's going to die, but Felicity's hung around for 20 years and now she's going to be taken to him. I mean, the timeline is malleable.
Yep.
But also, the age disparity? I mean, don't get me wrong, but, you know, like, he's gone off as a hot 30-something-year-old, and he's got a, still fairly hot because her ageing wasn't done with a very heavy hand, 50-odd-year-old wife appearing.
Yeah.
Like,
who knows?
So perhaps he's not dead. Or perhaps he's trapped in a different universe and can never come back to the life that he has.
Because part of the thing with Crisis on Infinite Earths was some of the heroes ended up trapped on this zero place, this nothing place. I can't even remember what it is. And I think that's how the next Crisis, Infinite Crisis might be the next one, is Superboy is trapped there for, Superboy Prime is trapped there for so long he kind of goes mad.
Right.
And breaks out because he's a superhero. He's a Kryptonian superhero and ends up destroying everything that they wrought that was gained through Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right.
I think he then basically recreates the multiverse.
Okay.
Where Infinite Earths was going down to one Earth, I think he then ends up splitting it back open again. But it has
such a comic.
It's such a comic booky thing. But maybe that's the, you know, he is now in that place and Felicity's being taken to him. Something along those lines.
Possibly.
I don't know. It because it is such a comic booky thing. It is like, I don't trust that he's definitely going to die. Although it would be a nice way if we know he's going to die and they are going to do the Crisis on Infinite Earths as the cliffhanger, half the crossover before the mid-season break, half after the mid-season break. The cliffhanger being his death would be quite nice. A thing we know is coming, let's just get it done, but still setting up some other peril that now he's not available for.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm a little puzzled how they're going to do the pre-crossover Arrow six episode season,
right? With
Arrow and Felicity not even in it. Unless, are they going to come after the crossover?
I don't think Felicity's going to be in it, if I'm honest. I am. So yes, there is an article here, and I'm sure I have seen comments about this, is that ahead of its 8th and final season, Emily Bett Rickards has said she is leaving Arrow. Her contract was up and she opted to move on, which is really interesting. If they, you know, were planning for it to be a short season, to not go, let's get her in for at least a couple of them, and maybe they will. Maybe that'll be the surprise. I could see them doing the next season as either building up to the crossover, so Arrow gets to, the show Arrow gets to do some of the heavy lifting for the crossover setup.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or do it pre or post crossover, but set it in the future. And just follow the future kids, because there was a very heavy thing there of handing on the baton. And I could see them doing a smoke and
grief. There is nothing more to be done in the present. Nothing more that's not just miserable watching it all go down the drain.
Diggle getting another son is, I think, the only question we have left unanswered now. Which I don't need that answered over several episodes, which it would be teaming up with Bronze Tiger. Bronze Tiger is mortally wounded. Bronze Tiger dies and bequeaths his son to John, you know, something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, where would they pick it up from if they were going to do any more in the present? Because we know that Felicity and Oliver are just not in it for a number of years. They're just raising a baby in the middle of the woods. And then Felicity presumably is raising a child on her own in the middle of the woods.
Exactly.
So their timeline for those few years is already set.
Which we have seen. So on the episode that was future set that showed us Mia's background, we did see her growing up in that cottage, whatever it was, being trained by Nyssa.
Right.
Nyssa Al Ghul.
Oh, really?
So this is how she became such a great fighter. She's trained by the League of Assassins, effectively. And I think we only saw Felicity in that footage.
Right.
Which was always the thing of, like, we know something's coming for Oliver.
Right.
And we don't know... And actually, that's a fair point. We don't know where John is in the future, so...
Yeah. But I'm not really interested in watching some present stories that are just Renee, Dinah and John.
Yeah.
Because we know that Roy's gone off to join Thea.
That's fair.
Who clearly doesn't want to play in the Arrowverse anymore.
Yeah. What was her name? Willard something?
Don't know.
I've closed it down. I've closed it down now. Yeah, real shame because I always enjoyed Thea.
Yes, me too.
So that's Arrow done.
Yep. I will be watching Arrow next season.
We're gonna do. We're
gonna do all of them.
Okay. So that wraps us up for another week. If you have thoughts, questions, or comments, you can use the hashtag ATAV on Twitter, or you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as Eloquent Gushing. If you want to help support us, please check out our Patreon page where you can get access to exclusive content across all our shows. Go to patreon.com/eloquentgushing. And don't forget to visit the homepage, eloquentgushing.com, where you can find the other shows across the network and subscribe to our weekly newsletter with all the goings on. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you across the Arrowverse.
Across the Arrowverse is an Eloquent Gushing production. For more shows you'll love, please visit eloquentgushing.com.